Hello, everybody. Welcome to the J Lounge. Of course, you guys know I am your hostess with the mostest, Miss J, aka Miss Simone Jackson, here to bring you guys another great episode of the J Lounge. Of course, everybody knows out there the J Lounge is a celebrity-based podcast show where we talk with filmmakers, actors, singers, directors, whoever name it, they all end up here and we all end up having a conversation with them. So I am super excited to be introducing my next guest. He is a executive producer. He is a filmmaker. So everyone, please give a super warm welcome to Mr. Scott Wegener. Hi, Mr. Wegener.
Hi there. How you doing?
Doing great. How are you?
Doing great. How's the weather in Seattle?
Uh, they don't call us the Emerald Green City for nothing. So that's just, yeah, they don't call us the Emerald Green City for nothing. Rain, just rain. So it happens. It happens. But I appreciate you being on here with me today. I'm going to go ahead and fire the first question at you. What began your passion for directing and filmmaking?
Well, I started making movies when my father got me a old-fashioned Brownie Fun Saver 8mm crank wound movie camera for my 15th birthday in 1969. And, I was one of those kids who was having trouble in school, getting bullied, not quite knowing where I fit in the world and any of that stuff. And I took this camera and I made a little 2.5-minute movie, a little silly flying saucer movie. And I showed it at my older brother's church youth group.
Oh.
And they loved it. They were cheering, they were laughing, they wanted to see it again, they wanted to see it backwards, they wanted to see it 3 or 4 times. And that was the first time in my entire life that I felt validation. And I decided when I turned off that old metal Keystone projector, I said to myself, I'm doing this for the rest of my life. It was a lifesaver.
I love it. I love stories like that. Who knew a 2-minute film would start off the rest of your career?
Absolutely.
I
Absolutely.
love it, though. I love it. And like you said, to get that validation, I definitely know what you're talking about. Oh, that feeling there is no other feeling. It is such a beautiful feeling. It is, yes, I love it. Going on to the number 2 question, as a director and a filmmaker, what type of stories do you like to bring to the forefront?
I'm pretty popcorn. I like making action adventure movies.
Yes.
And for the last several years, I've been focusing on some characters I developed, some teenagers who find themselves getting into trouble around the world, and they're the only ones smart enough to figure it out. It's sort of like Johnny Quest meets the Hardy Boys. And it's just been a total blast and very addicting because it's as much fun to shoot as it is to watch.
Oh my goodness. I love it. I love popcorn films. To me, this is the genre. It's just, yeah, I love it. I love the movie Meg, about that shark. One of the best popcorn films I've seen. Because it's not anything serious. It's just a good old action flick, all of that stuff. So I go for those genres as well. So definitely can live with you there.
Having said that, though, I don't want to downplay the craft of filmmaking. I try very, very hard to make sure it's the best film it can be. I storyboard everything. It takes me over a year to write a script, making sure that it's logical, it's believable, the characters are attractive, that the science in it makes sense. And then when I shoot, everything is storyboarded, making sure that the shots are as artistically viable as they can possibly be. I'm not one to, just set up the camera, run through, okay, we've shot this scene, okay, now we're done, move on to the next one. I always want to make sure that every shot, every take is the best for the actors, best for the crew, and best for me. Because the last thing anybody wants to do at the end of the day, when the film is done and the lights go down and the movie comes up on the screen and people are embarrassed.
Right.
So it's a lot of work. and I love the work aspect of it. But just because it's a popcorn movie doesn't mean that there's not a lot of hard work of making the craft as best as it can be.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I definitely agree with you on that one for sure. For sure. There's still a lot of work that gets put into it. And kudos for you for being a perfectionist in a way. Making sure everything is just, you know, flawless and just as tightly as done as made as possible. So I like it.
Mhm.
Yeah, but goes actually brings my next question. Going on to number 4, what's been the best project you think you put out so far?
Well, it would be disingenuous for me to say anything other than, well, the last film that I made. I'm certainly always, I think, becoming more experienced and
Mhm.
better at my craft. At least that's what I'd like to believe. That's certainly up to the audience. Um, but the last project, which was called The Riddle of the Spider's Web, which was shot in Martinique, off the coast of South America, um, is an action adventure with these teenagers. Um, and it allowed me to get into more moody situations, more emotional situations,
Mhm.
uh, and more action situations, and being able to hone the craft of, okay, how am I going to do this one? And an additional challenge that's on top of everything else for me,
Mhm.
I deliberately make movies with zero budget.
Ooh.
I don't spend money to make films. Everything is goods and services in exchange for, whatever, screen credit or whatever. Um, I don't tell my actors up front. One of the first questions your listeners may be thinking is, oh, is he one of those who says, oh, it's good experience for you. You'll get your name up in lights and this movie will make you famous. I never say that because we don't know. We have absolutely no idea
This is true.
how an audience is going to react to that. And so it's disingenuous to try and attract crew by saying what a movie could be. It all depends on how hard they work, how hard I work. I'll tell them that, you can judge from my track record if you like what you've seen me do before and talk to people that I've worked with and judge for yourself if that's something you want to be a part of. Um, but I find that using money slows the whole process down, because as creatives, uh, bookkeeping and money making and fundraising is probably the last skill set that we would expect to have. And I found that if you have no budget, you have no budget restrictions. You can do literally anything.
Wow. Well, I like the fact that you're honest. That's one of the most honest answers I think I've ever gotten from a filmmaker and director. You don't know how it's going to turn out because you don't know how the audience is going to perceive it. They don't know how the audience is going to take it, or they're going to like it or not. It's all up to them. Once you make the film, and you present it to the audience, it's all out of your hands. You don't know how it's going to be perceived. So
Absolutely.
I like how you're honest about that, right? I do. I don't have a lot of filmmakers that come on here and that say an honest answer like that. But it's true. So I appreciate you definitely pointing that out. Um, but going on to the number 5 question, I want to make sure, Scott, that my audience follows you, keeps up with you and your work. Where are you on social media?
Well, I do have a Facebook page at Scott Wegener. I mean, it's just my name. And there's a few Scott Wegeners out there. I'm the one with the screen grab, or the picture of me is holding a glowing ball of energy. But there's a Scott Wegener who's a comic book artist. There's a Scott Wegener who's a 5-star chef in Chicago. Those are not me. Those are not skills that I have.
I did see that too. I did see that too. I was like, oh. There's a lot of different Scotts. There's a five. Hey, this guy's
Yeah.
multi-talented. I really thought when I saw that was like your bio. I was like, wow, this man's really 5-star chef. All of that. Like, wow, like this man's like got talent everywhere.
I will tell you that I have exchanged Christmas cards with all the other Scott Wegeners. It's just a really bizarre, fun thing to do. Of yes, I'm giving a card to myself in an alter ego.
I love it. I love it. Thank you for saying that because I really saw that. I was like, oh wow. I was like, this man's multi-talented. I was like, so you go ahead. You go ahead.
And also, I have a website, which is noblemansquare.com.
Noblemansquare.com. I highly encourage my audience, of course, make sure you go check out noblemansquare.com. Noblemansquare.com, the website for Scott Wegener. Make sure you guys support him and make sure you guys follow his work as well. We definitely want to see more of his work for sure. Going on to the number 6 question, what future projects are you involved with that you can dish about to the J Lounge audience?
Well, I'm taking a little bit of a break from filmmaking right now. I've got some medical issues going on that's kind of slowing me down, and I don't want to, well, it's not slowing me down, but it may slow me down, and I don't want to commit to a project that normally a film for me takes between 4 and 5 years to put out. From writing, shooting, editing, getting out there. And so I'm kind of pulling back. I'm actually writing a novel right now about the Pony Express. And so it's set in the 1800s, right before the Civil War. And it's an action adventure novel, which may possibly be made into a film later on. I don't know. As someone said, the nice thing about writing a novel is, as opposed to writing a script for a film, is when you write a script for a film, you're just getting started after the script is done. And when you write a novel, it's like, okay, now I am done. And it's a little bit easier, I think, but I haven't made it all the way through the novel yet, so I don't know if that's actually the case. But in addition to that, I've started at noblemansquare.com, something called The Garrison at Nobleman Square, which is a long format interview segment similar to what you do, only on video, where I'll interview filmmakers about their craft, similar as you do. Just finished an interview and posted it this morning with creature actor Doug Jones, who is a star of Star Trek Discovery. He was the creature in The Shape of Water. He was in Hellboy, Hocus Pocus, lots of other films where you'd never recognize him because he's always in creature makeup. And he's from the Midwest. So he was born and raised about 90 miles from Cincinnati.
Oh, wow.
So he was a hometown boy willing to talk to me. And it's trying to get interesting folks from around the world to talk about their craft. And that's been a lot of fun. And also, as I'm sure it is for you, really enlightening of, oh, wow, this is how somebody else does it.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. It's always very enlightening for me to get behind the scenes, for filmmaking, because I'm such a movie buff and I love, movies of all kind. But to get that, insight, real good insight on how the behind the scene works is always insightful for me. So I always get enlightened. So, but all that sounds amazing. It's a lot of stacked up projects, for sure. But going on to the number 7 question, Scott, what would you say has been some of the most rewarding and difficult aspects of being a filmmaker?
Well, the most rewarding, I think, with any filmmaker, myself included, is when the movie's all finished and you turn down the lights and you show it to an audience and they like it. They laugh in the right parts, they're scared in the right parts, and they applaud at the end. There's nothing like the feeling of getting to the point where the credits roll at the end of a film and the audience applauds. That's probably why 99% of filmmakers do what they do, is for those just couple of minutes where the audience gives its appreciation for the hard work that everybody has done. Um, and I think it's the same for, all of the actors that are involved in a project, all the crew people. When people show their appreciation through that applause, yeah, it was all worth it. All those long days, long nights, arduous circumstances, was all worth it. The challenge for me is always starting a project and being very upfront, zero budget production. I always tell people that if this movie makes any money, and I'm not guaranteeing that it will, but if it does, we're giving it to charity.
Mhm.
So we don't have people with the false hopes that, oh, I'm going to make money off of this, or, oh, it's, the same old of, yeah, you'll get your 3% or 5% or whatever once we make money. It's no, if it makes any money, we give it away. So don't expect anything. And that helps because people realize, okay, well, if I'm not getting paid and the director isn't getting paid and it's going to a good cause, that's awesome. But the flip side of that coin is a lot of people, you constantly have to prove yourself more than I think you should, that, oh, well, if you don't have a budget, that means nobody believes in you because nobody gave you any money. So you must not be very good. You must not know what you're doing. And so I'm not going to try very hard. I'm just going to, phone in my performance, or I may show up to work, or I may not. And I don't care because clearly this is a Bush League production. Um, and that's a tough thing to fight in the beginning, but once people realize that I'm always striving to be the hardest working person on the set, and that we'll have if we need in the last film, Riddle of the Spider's Web, um, we needed to shoot on board. We have a scene that takes place on board a freighter in the Caribbean during a hurricane. And there's a fight on a sinking boat, fist fight going on a sinking boat in the middle of this hurricane as a freighter is bearing down on them. And people are like looking at that going, well, that's never going to happen. That's another case of false hopes.
Mhm.
But we pulled it off. I was able to get a freighter. There just happens to be a full-size freighter just outside of Toledo, Ohio, that's at dry dock that we were able to shoot on. For interiors, I was able to get a master tug, which is one of the pilot boats that goes up and down the Mississippi River,
Mhm.
to shoot in their wheelhouse, and get through all the TSA security things to be able to do that. And when we set up to do the fight on the boat, it just so happened there was a pouring rainstorm. And so we were able to set up with green screen outside in the middle of a driving rainstorm to shoot this fight scene. And it looked great. And people were amazed at the end of it that, oh my God, we never thought you'd pull this off. And he did. And so that gave some confidence. But in the beginning, it's really hard kind of dragging people along saying, no, really, it's going to happen. Just, and they're skeptical, but slowly as the process goes on, they learn, oh, when he says something's going to happen, it really happens.
Yes.
And then they get excited, and then the process certainly becomes easier as time goes on.
I love that. I love that. I love the fact that if any of your films do make money, you give it to charity. I think that's great. And I like that you again put that up front. Don't expect to make any money because that's not what's going to happen.
Mhm.
Um, so, but yeah, that's incredible though. The process that the process that you were able to get through, and make that scene happen. That is awesome. That is
And
awesome, and that's dedication.
if anybody wants to see the kind of work that we do, all the films are available at Nobleman Square, but they're also available on YouTube. The three in the Spider's Web trilogy, we have one called The Spider's Web, which was actually made in 1995.
Oh wow.
Um, and that's when our two teenagers meet in high school and improve on gravity on Einstein's theory of relativity and build a flying car uh, that we had constructed for free.
Oh
Um,
wow.
and the next one was the Spider's Web Arch Defiance, which takes the kids to Africa. And that film um, and the Riddle of the Spider's Web um, all go to charity. The original film was for television. It actually aired on the ABC affiliate in Cincinnati and a few others in their chain back in 1995. Um, but let's see, the Riddle or Arch Defiance, the money goes to youth charities. We had Kiwanis International, which helps kids overseas. We had Glisten, which was national, and we had Upspring, which helps kids who are homeless to be able to get quality education because it's real hard to get an education when you
Hmm.
don't have an address. And then Riddle of the Spider's Web, we simplified things, and all that money goes to the Boys and Girls Clubs.
Love it. Love it. That is awesome. That is awesome. That is incredible. I appreciate you for doing all of that type of work because you're right. It's hard to get good education if you don't have an address, and I'm so glad you're putting that work in to those charities. So that's amazing. Just got three more questions for you there, Scott. Going on to
Sure.
number 8. What goals do you hope to accomplish in your career that you haven't yet?
Well, one of the goals, and it's an ongoing goal. It's sort of like my crusade, is to young filmmakers, high school kids, kids that are struggling to find their way, picking up a camera and being told, "Oh, well, if you don't have any money, you're never going to make a movie, and nobody's going to watch your story." I want to dispel that. I want to attract young people and empower them with the knowledge that you can do anything if you're determined and you want to make it happen. And that's one of the things that I post on my website is I have a series called Engage Your Film Passion, which details how you can make movies with no money. Um, and it's a free series, and it hopefully gives people some empowerment to tell their story and have that same feeling of gratification when the audience applauds,
Hmm.
when they're appreciated by folks. And money should not be something that blocks people from doing that. So that's kind of my ongoing mission. I think that that's a goal it's never completely reached, but it's always one that I'm reaching for and trying to make progress with.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely, and that is and I really do really agree with you. Money shouldn't stop any young filmmaker from trying to make a film and getting their stories out there. So that should never be a boundary. So uh, kudos for you for tackling that on. Honestly, um, definitely.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Great. Going on to the number 9 question. What are some of your passions outside of directing?
Well, My day job, as you can imagine, I have to have a day job because I'm not making money making movies. Um,
Right, right. I get
and
you. I get you.
my day job is as a television news photographer.
Ooh.
And I originally got into being a TV news photographer out of happenstance or desperation. When I first got out of college, when I first graduated from film school, um, I needed a job. There was a recession going on, and I was offered a job shooting news. And I thought, I don't really want to do this. It's, shooting car wrecks and fires. It's not creative. It's just, you know, blah, blah. But then I started doing it and realizing first, it helps me as a filmmaker because I'm always around cameras and equipment. I need to learn how to tell stories very succinctly, visually, in like 90 seconds. What happened, who, what, where, when, why, all of that. Um, I need to be able to get that information out. And then as I got into it more, I started realizing the importance of journalism.
Hmm.
And that became a passion for me that there's a reason we're called the fourth estate, that the media, and by media, I don't mean social media, I don't mean cable outlets, I mean newspapers, radio, and television, and those outlets that provide serious journalism to let the world know what's going on. Our job is to make it so people can vote intelligently in a democracy, not to give opinions, not to sway folks to believe one way or another, just give them the facts as best we can, the facts that are important.
Hmm.
Um, and that's become a huge passion of mine because as everybody is aware, no matter where they stand politically, there's a lot of nonsense out there that's trying to cloud the facts and put propaganda out there, and it's wrecking our democracy. And
Hmm.
so it's important to get back to basic journalism and get your information, stay involved, don't be apathetic, vote, have a reason to vote, know what you're voting about, all of that sort of stuff. um, and I've become extremely passionate about that. And it's now sort of a win-win because it helps me be a better filmmaker because I get to talk to everybody from homeless folks living in cardboard boxes, literally to the president of the United States, and talk to them and learn their stories. And in addition to that, I get to help democracy grind forward, as messy and as angry as it can be, so people can keep this country running. And it's just wonderful.
Hmm. That is powerful as hell right there. And that's amazing that you get to talk to all sorts of people in between. And I definitely agree with you. Definitely media should go back to going after the truth again and not getting muddled up in uh, so much, I would say, political awareness, I guess.
And
So,
to be clear, there's no such thing as, quote, the media. So I've got to be careful because it's a real easy term to sling out there. Um, but traditional news outlets,
mhm.
the alphabet soup of CBS, NBC, ABC, NPR,
Oh yeah.
all of those, your local newspaper, your local radio outlet. I'm not talking about cable like CNN, MSNBC, Fox, all the channels that are talk shows where they have to fill 24 hours. There's not enough news to fill 24 hours or enough staff to fill
Right.
24 hours. So they'll get a pundit up there to attract viewers who will come out with the opinions and let's rile people up and get folks angry, and that way we'll have
Ratings.
income and viewers and stuff like that. I'm not talking about that. But real journalism does still exist.
Mm.
It's out there where it has always been out there. And a lot of this uh, social stuff, social media is not news. Don't get your news from that because that's all tainted. Um, and get it from outlets that you can trust that have always been there. That hasn't changed. So need to be clear about that.
Oh yeah, for sure. No, totally agree with you. Absolutely. I absolutely 100% agree with you there. So, um, and I'm glad definitely something someone said it, and that clarification. So, yeah, I definitely agree with you on that. Um, but going on to the final question, the number 10 question. I know you said you're taking a little bit of break from filmmaking. However, if ever you got the chance to, of course, create another film, name 3 actors you would love to work with and why.
Oh my goodness. Um, the 3 actors that I'd want to work with are pretty much actors. This is kind of weird, but it's true. Um, Mostly actors that I've already worked with, because I've worked with some wonderful folks who have since gone on to LA. Um, and they're having the beginnings of wonderful careers out there. Um, and some who have decided that they wanted to have another life, uh, another profession, although they still do some acting in their spare time. Um, so Mark Anthony Howard, you'll hear his name coming up a lot in the future. He just moved to Hollywood and is a beginning actor, and he's only been there for a month or so, maybe 2, and he's already getting work. So he's definitely going to be a rising star that I would absolutely love to work with any opportunity I could get. Um, and there is an actor that I've been friends with who his work has always been stellar. And he lives down in Kentucky, and his name is John Wells, uh, a brilliant actor who has a very wide range, has a great look, and is by all accounts a wonderful person to work with, who's hardworking, always prepared, and doesn't create a lot of drama on the set. Um, so it's a small circle. I don't have a lot of actors that I'm like dying to, oh my gosh, I'd love to work with. Although I do have to say, after interviewing Doug Jones, I would be absolutely ecstatic if I was able to have him pop up on my set at some time in the
Hmm.
future.
That sounds like a stellar list. A stellar list. So I hope you definitely get to, um, Doug Jones, like you said. Uh, it just seems like you just have a real, talented, creative group of actors you would love to work with. So, yeah, loving the list. That sounds awesome. Sounds amazing. All right, Mr. Wagner, you've been absolute dream to speak with today. I really appreciate your thoughts, especially as a filmmaker, and beyond that, especially with your charity work as well, and you're being honest about your creativity and your creativity process. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. And to all your viewers out there, the one final wish that I have for them is that they're always able to stay focused and keep their batteries charged.
Love it. Keep the batteries charged. Yes, I agree. Scott, you've been an absolute delight. I absolutely appreciate you giving me your time and being on here with on my show today. I
My
definitely,
pleasure.
mm-hmm. I definitely highly encourage my audience, of course, make sure you go and support Scott on all social media. Check out his work. Make sure you check out his website, Nobleman Square, as well, and just get to know and get more familiar with his work. It's absolutely brilliant, as well as his charity work as well, because that's important. And he's doing really great work as well. He's bringing a lot of, definitely a lot of issues to the forefront, and I definitely want to highly encourage everyone to go support that. So, But of course, you guys know I have been your hostess with the mostest, Miss J, aka Miss Simone Jackson. I'm always here to bring you guys another great episode of the J Lounge. I will be back soon with another amazing guest. But till then, I want to thank my guest, Mr. Scott Wegener, one more time. I want to thank everyone for listening in. I'll be back soon. Till then, bye.
Bye-bye. Thanks so much.